The cargo bay of the Viridian Dawn hummed with the low thrum of hyperspace engines, a sound that had become as familiar to Rose as her own heartbeat. She sat cross-legged on a supply crate, methodically cleaning her plasma rifle while the rest of the human expedition team gathered around the holographic display, projecting their next mission parameters. Eliam watched her from across the bay, his mandibles clicking in what his species, the Cravian, considered amusement. The towering, chitinous warrior had served alongside humans for nearly 2 standard years now, and he still couldn't quite comprehend their peculiar brand of recklessness. "You are unusually quiet today. Rose human," Eliam said, his translator rendering his clicking speech into smooth standard. "Is something troubling you?" Rose glanced up, her dark eyes meeting his compound vision. "Just thinking about the asteroid mining station. Intelligence says the Quen pirates have fortified it pretty heavily." "Indeed. Which is why Command suggests a stealth approach." Eliam's forearms gestured at the hologram. "We infiltrate, disable their communications, and extract the hostages before they realize we're there." A smirk played at the corner of Rose's lips. "And when has anything we've done ever gone according to plan?" Before Eliam could respond, the ship shuddered violently. Alarms shrieked through the corridors as the captain's voice crackled over the intercom. "Battle stations! We've been pulled out of hyperspace. Quen ambush." Rose was on her feet instantly, rifle in hand, sprinting toward the defensive positions. Eliam followed, his longer strides easily keeping pace. Through the viewport, they could see 3 Quen interceptors. Sleek, predatory vessels bristling with weaponry. "They knew we were coming," Rose muttered, sliding into position behind a reinforced bulkhead. The Viridian Dawn rocked under weapons fire. Somewhere deeper in the ship, something exploded. Then another sound, harsh and metallic, reverberated through the hull. "Boarding pods," Eliam hissed. "They're breaching the lower decks." Rose's jaw tightened. "Then let's give them a proper human welcome." They reached the breach point as the first Quen warriors poured through, their scaled bodies moving with serpentine grace, energy weapons blazing. The human security team opened fire, and the corridor became a hellscape of plasma bolts and screaming. Rose moved like water through chaos, her shots precise and devastating. Beside her, Eliam's forearms wielded both energy shields and weapons, his warrior training evident in every movement. Together, they pushed the first wave back, but the Quen were numerous and desperate. One particularly large warrior, likely a commander, locked eyes on Rose and charged, roaring a challenge in his guttural tongue. Eliam moved to intercept, but 3 more Quen engaged him simultaneously. The commander was fast, but Rose was faster. She ducked under his first strike, rolled past his second, and came up with her combat knife in hand. They circled each other in the cramped corridor, the sounds of battle fading into background noise. Then the commander did something unexpected. He reached for his belt and pulled free a spherical device, a thermal grenade, its surface already glowing with activation heat. With a hissing laugh, he tossed it at her feet. It wasn't meant to kill her, Rose realized instantly. He'd set it to stun range, just enough to intimidate, to make her panic and flee. A psychological tactic, counting on fear to make her vulnerable. Time seemed to slow. Rose could see Eliam's head turning toward her, his mandibles opening in a warning shout. She could see the other humans diving for cover, their faces twisted in alarm, and she smiled. In one fluid motion, Rose stepped forward and kicked the grenade, sending it spinning back toward the Quen commander with perfect accuracy. It tumbled through the air, still glowing, still primed. "Nice try," she said, her voice steady and clear over the chaos. The commander's eyes widened in shock, an expression that Rose found remarkably human on his alien face. He scrambled backward, but there was nowhere to go in the narrow corridor. The grenade detonated at his feet with a concussive blast that sent him and 2 of his warriors sprawling, unconscious. The remaining Quen stared at Rose for a frozen moment, their weapons half raised. Then, as if by silent agreement, they retreated back through the breach, dragging their fallen comrades with them. Eliam dispatched the last of his opponents and turned to Rose, his entire body language radiating disbelief. You kicked a live grenade? Back at the enemy?" Rose shrugged, already moving to secure the breach point. "It seemed like the thing to do. That is..." Eliam's translator struggled for a moment. "That is the most insane, illogical..." brilliant thing I have witnessed in my 17 cycles of service. By the time the Viridian Dawn limped into the nearest friendly station for repairs, the story had already spread. Rose found herself surrounded by crew members, human and alien alike, all wanting to hear the tale firsthand. She downplayed it, as humans often did with their own exploits, but the gleam in her eye suggested she enjoyed the attention at least a little. Eliam stood at the edge of the crowd, watching with what his species would call fondness. He had read the human military histories, studied their tactics and strategies, learned about their wars and their warriors. But reading about human audacity and witnessing it firsthand were entirely different experiences. Later, as the crew dispersed and the excitement faded into routine, Eliam found Rose in the observation deck staring out at the stars. "I have a question," he said, settling his massive frame beside her considerably smaller one. "Shoot. When the grenade landed at your feet, were you afraid?" Rose was quiet for a long moment. "Terrified," she finally admitted. "My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might explode. My hands were shaking. Every survival instinct I had was screaming at me to run. Then why didn't you?" She turned to look at him, and Eliam saw something in her eyes that he was beginning to understand was quintessentially human. A spark of defiance, of stubborn refusal to bow to fear or fate or physics. Because humans don't run from fear, Eliam, we kick it back where it came from and dare it to try again. Eliam's mandibles clicked in what was definitely amusement this time. "Humanity, fuck yeah," he said, testing out the phrase he'd heard the humans use so often. Rose laughed, the sound bright and genuine. "Now you're getting it." Outside the viewport, the stars wheeled in their ancient dance, indifferent to the small dramas of the beings who sailed between them. But in that moment, on that ship, one alien warrior understood a little more about why humanity had earned its reputation across the galaxy. Not through superior technology or overwhelming numbers, but through sheer audacious courage in the face of impossible odds. And somewhere in Quen space, a commander was explaining to his superiors exactly why they should think twice before trying to intimidate a human with explosives again.